Graham Hunter, good morning to you. How you doing?
Upset.
Good.
I only listened to the top three and I didn't see it in the Aberdeen anywhere. So, one, what the hell? Two, I listen. I think I listened to the top 15 maybe, and I didn't hear the criteria. And I suppose thirdly, didn't we invent the Champions League for this? If you want me to come in and be Mr. Grumpy and complain about Owen's list, not much to say in that it's nuances, in that you picked up immediately on Liverpool's defence, blah, 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 and Arsenal will be back and whatever. I think they've had, a terrible summer in terms of where their players have been, how ready they can be. I still have pretty much almost total faith that if the draw keeps them apart, it's a Champions League final between Manchester City and Liverpool this season. I think that they've powered ahead. I think, in all honesty, without having heard Owen's criteria, I might well have had them 1 and 2. And I think also go back to the patch where I work. I think that you were right to promote Atleti. Real Madrid have slid. The brilliance of the European performance over recent years that must combine to an Owen coefficient. I suppose that's what you're using, your own personal coefficient in some way or other. Their league performances have been shocking. The defensive performance is shocking. Atleti have finished ahead of them twice in La Liga in the last 2 seasons. So there's little for me to bitch and moan about. But when you get into any weighting like this, and I don't know how you do it, Owen. Seriously, it's so subjective. There are so many factors to pile in, and well, best of luck to you. But we play in red. Only one team has ever won 2 European trophies. Just rethink, baby. That's all I'm saying to you. Rethink.
You talking about Nottingham Forest?
That's not even funny from a villain.
Come here, though. All joking aside, I wanted the point you made about Liverpool and their players and where they've been. We've obviously talked about Barcelona at the start of every year and gone, they've got Leo Messi in their team. They've got all these other great players. They should definitely win. And I remember almost season after season after season, there was always an issue with just how much flogging the players got in the off-season. And this was in the years when there wasn't a tournament or when the players weren't playing all around the world. It was the fact that Barcelona turned them into the Harlem Globetrotters for the pre-season month, and invariably there would be, in your thinking, a conversation with somebody maybe behind the scenes that was saying the fitness of these players is going to come home to roost at some point. And inevitably, with I think the exception of 1 year in the last, so twice since 2010, two times in the last decade, despite the fact they've had Leo Messi for the entire decade, they won the Champions League when they should have won a lot more. Is that almost now, in retrospect, when we look at the end of the decade, down to them not managing their resources properly and not putting in that bed of fitness that will allow them to succeed at the end of the year?
It's a central theme, Jared. It's an absolute central theme, and I think that a lot of clubs will be laughing at them because many clubs undertake the same type of circus tour of the world in the summer now as Football Club Barcelona. Yes, when Barca is so replete with stars of different nationalities, unlike when Tito Villanova turned out in 11, which was homebred in La Masia against Levante, I think in autumn 2011. 2012. What I would say to you is that there has to be wider causes. So, for example, the daily training regime at Football Club Barcelona in terms of absolute intensity, I think has been left behind, not woefully, but if you look across other clubs and their ability to perform across 10 months, peaking at the right time, then the finessing of Barca's fitness training, not just the way in which they are undermined and they let gas go out of the tank in the summer. And then a third element that is absolutely essential, whether people believed me over the years or needed Carlos Puyol a year and a half ago to say it, but no other club in world football over the last, say, 10 years has absolutely left everything they've got on a battlefield of the Cup over January and February when matches are intermingled, home and away, in this absolute football killing field from January to February, when Barcelona, having said we won everything, their leitmotif since Pep took over was we want to win the treble every season, and to win the treble you have to win the cup. So we fight like tigers for the cup. We lay everything out there. Largely we play a first 11, and by March we collapse. and they haven't managed to learn. So in terms of this summer, Ger, I know I'm talking about that brilliant Aduriz goal, but Athletic, although they're a lesser football team and were better organised and fewer debutants, had far more stamina than our Barcelona side, which was just coming back and still suffering jet lag. They hadn't been in Spain a week from having gone out to Japan because of their sponsors Rakuten, played a couple of games against, culminating in a Vissel Kobe game, where Iniesta and Villar, coming back for a couple of days, R&R in Catalonia, and then off to wherever it was, New Jersey, I think, or East Coast of America, to play Napoli twice, in a move that left them coming back here, rocking and reeling. Piqué said on the pitch after the game, they were physically better than us. They outlasted us. We got put in our place. They painted our faces, which is a very literal translation of Barca, the guest at the party who falls asleep, gets drunk, and somebody puts lipstick and moustaches on. That's what Piqué said. And he said we merited defeat. And the club, your overall theme is how has the club managed its resources? And by and large, last weekend was a metaphor that stretches across the last 10 years of their money earning in the summer. They're not unique. They don't always do it badly, but they do undermine themselves, but no more so than January and February. If anybody's betting that with a proper attack now, with some decent additions, if you look at De Jong, Junior Firpo, if anybody's betting that Barcelona can go to the summit of European football, then don't lose your money. Don't use your euros until you see how they treat the cup in January and February.
What was your sense of how Antoine Griezmann performed last week in terms of how he's settling into things at Barcelona? Because I guess if you look at the big money signings in recent years, there hasn't been too many kind of standout hits really, Graham, has there? They are expecting that from Griezmann.
Yeah, I think so. It's a very complex picture in that he looked like a little boy lost. One of the things that you would identify about him on, I think, at La Real and then at Atleti, is his liberty. And there's only one player at Football Club Barcelona that truly gets liberty, and that's Leo Messi. I take it as cast in stone that Leo Messi wanted Neymar, and I think Griezmann, although Messi is not a sulker, I think that he'll be pinging the ball in training at Griezmann saying, can you control that? I think that Griezmann has to earn his spurs in the training ground. Leo Messi trained with Griezmann, I think, for the first time last night because Messi had an extended holiday after Copa America, then he got injured, he didn't go on the tour, blah, blah, blah. Griezmann has got to earn his spurs with the team leader. That's no question. At Athletic, the picture is clouded again by the fact that Suarez went off early. Griezmann's position wide didn't really seem to be working. He isn't a number 9, doesn't like to be considered a number 9. When Suarez went off, Barcelona largely went to a 4-2-3-1 formation with Griezmann up front on his own. We haven't looked at the real Griezmann yet. I think he's finding his feet. I think that he does have work to do to make sure that he integrates. And we've still got a flipping transfer market until September 2nd. It's a joke, the way that the transfer markets around Europe have gone. And that means that Barcelona are definitely still fighting for Neymar. Don't believe this L'Equipe nonsense about they're only pretending to be interested in him just to keep Leo Messi happy. Messi's far smarter than that. They're not the favourites at the moment right now to get him because Paris Saint-Germain want money. But Neymar coming to Barcelona is something that neither you nor I nor Gerrard nor Griezmann can rule out. And Griezmann's future at Barcelona would be interesting in that it would be a completely different formation were Neymar to be signed. And Barcelona are still trying for him. That's the point I'm making.
It's not just about keeping Lionel Messi happy, I guess, Graham, because if you look at Philippe Coutinho and the way he managed to not keep the Barcelona fans unhappy, you do wonder if that's going to be a similar challenge for Griezmann. What can he learn from Coutinho, basically?
I view him as a different character. I had high hopes for Coutinho because I thought that his ability to learn would be good. I didn't think he was a made player when he came to the Camp Nou, but I spoke to people who'd known him throughout his professional career, and they assured me this is a guy who pays attention, who's prodigious in terms of trying to learn. As Coutinho shared his first season with Iniesta, he made a big point of saying, I'm watching everything this little master who inspired me does, and I'm trying to learn from it, and he didn't. The one overriding factor about Coutinho was that he would never learn not to give the ball away. He would never learn not to try a trick and go down a dark alley on the pitch when a simple pass, the correct pass, was there for him. He's prodigiously talented in a system whereby people are working around him and he is your filigree player. I think he'll still look absolutely gorgeous. You see that for the national team. But at Football Club Barcelona, he had an absolute singular flaw, which was you couldn't trust him not to put the team in jeopardy with the ball. And that's something that every player who comes needs to learn. Griezmann, while I understand the similarities you're identifying, I still think is probably a better learner, is more determined. I think he's a sharper footballer than Coutinho was in terms of his mental appreciation of the game. Coutinho is one of those guys who has had the luxury of always thinking, I've got a better trick than you. My technique is lovely, and therefore my laboratory learning of the game doesn't need to thrive. And I think Griezmann is a different footballer. But again, the role he's asked to play and what's demanded of him will be completely different based on whether they do or don't get Neymar.
Let's talk a bit about Joao Felix. And the off-season is never that important, apparently, but then Joao Felix does weird things in training that people haven't seen before, and you're like, oh, okay, this could be pretty good. And then the games start, and it's like, actually, this is amazing. Like, the next great world talent is upon us, and we should bow down before him, or is it too early to crown him a new king?
I think there's a lovely message in that it's a blink of an eye since Porto released him for being too skinny, 2015. And what did they get from his €126 million transfer? I think 1.26 million euros. What everybody needs to do, before we all hail him as the next Messiah, is bang home that message again, the message that applied to Pep Guardiola, the footballer, Xavi, Iniesta, David Villa, Leo Messi. Small and slight, don't worry about that. Look at the talent. Joao Felix grew so much at Benfica, youngest scorer in the Lisbon derby. Since he came to Atleti, the thing that really commands my attention in that there's a continuous loop. I take your point about him having looked good in pre-season and in training, but there's a continuous loop from his last season in Portugal, where for Benfica, the youngest player ever to score a hat-trick in the Europa League against Eintracht Frankfurt. He's doing now at Atleti without missing a beat what made him sexy at Benfica. And the thing that stands out for me is that there are still, even though Juan Fran has gone, Felipe has gone, Godin has gone, there are still a clutch of hard-bitten, tough soldiers at Atleti. And every single one of them is, give that kid the ball, give that kid the ball. They win the ball, they look for Joao Felix. If he makes a run, they feed it. And you can learn, there's a lexicon, you both know, of footballers' decision-making. And if you watch the games, the eye is drawn to Joao Felix. But if you stop and watch the others, they're looking to feed him. They're looking to create space for him. They're looking to win the ball back for him. And the kid's what about, he looks about 12 and in reality he's about 19. It's stunning that he's handled the move, handled the pressure, and that the people around him respect him so much, so quickly. There'll be bumps. In the first game, when Getafe put, double left backs, double right backs to try and stop possession in, Joao Felix just went, okay, that means there'll be space down the middle, and he went on a run. But he was fouled constantly. He hasn't got quite as slight as a frame as Neymar, but while Neymar was in La Liga, he was fouled pretty constantly. And I think there's going to be a burden on referees I never ask him to overprotect just because he's talented. The teams are going to go looking for this kid and saying, have you got it? They're going to knock him over, push him, jump all over him, kick him. And I want to see referees applying the law rigorously where he's concerned, because while he's developing, whether there are peaks and troughs in this first season, we are looking at an outrageous talent. And for me, working in this patch, I'm extremely excited to be learning about him firsthand.
He's not somebody you can compare with another footballer. He's not a copy of Neymar. He's not a new Messi. He's like, as all these other superstars, the genuine world-class superstars who we talk about, they've all been their own selves, and he is his own self as well.
Look, he's an interesting guy, and even at his age, he's gone the other way. He swum against the tide and talked about, well, I want to do what Cristiano Ronaldo's done. 5 Ballon d'Or. Yeah, I'd like that to be me. Everybody says what you're saying. Don't compare me to. I'm not the new. And he isn't saying I'm the new Cristiano, but like for a kid at that stage of his development, say, yeah, I want to emulate Cristiano Ronaldo. I like that. It's the same genes that Ronaldo had, Cristiano, at Manchester United when he was telling his fitness trainer, I'm going to be regarded as the best player of all time. I'm going to make people believe I'm the best ever footballer. And you're right. But I think that there's a hint of some of the way he's modelled his decision-making, in that one of his favourite players, one of his top 2 favourite players was Kaká. And I think that when you look at the runs he makes on the ball, skipping past people from deep, and that acceleration that he's got, there are similarities. but he's got PowerPoints in lots of different areas. In that he's a good assist giver. He's not a selfish player. His goal total, when we come to talk about him in 10 years' time, might be 15-20% lower than it could have been, in that he's a prodigious assist giver, and that's because his vision is very good. What's more, I think he shoots really well, and there are movements he makes that's like a number 9. He gets across a centre half, or he gets across a full back in the middle of the 6-yard box or the front post really, really well, as if he was an out-and-out 9. And in due course, I think we might see him playing off a main striker. But yeah, he's new, he's fresh, and he's Joao Felix.
It's 8:43, Graham. I'm almost entirely out of time. I just did want to get a quick shoehorn mention of Gareth Bale in here. We were talking about his imminent trip to China, or wherever else the hell he was going to end up, and how the row with Zidane might not be patch-upable. And then, lo and behold, turns out he's still a really good footballer.
He's got gamblers now, so does his agent. He's figured he can probably outlast everybody. Injuries might give him a chance. Zidane might go. L'Equipe reports this morning, and I don't know the factual truth of this, that he was offered as part of a big package, bumper package, to Paris Saint-Germain to take Neymar to Real Madrid. 100 million euros, plus James Rodriguez, plus Keylor Navas, plus Gareth Bale. What? What? is somebody on laughing gravy at Real Madrid? Or at L'Equipe, whichever it may be. I hope he stays. I hope he keeps playing like he did at the weekend, when he was very effective indeed. But if not, where was the last Ryder Cup held? Wasn't it just outside Paris? There's nice golf courses there, Gareth. Good morning. How are you?
Graham, good stuff. Thanks a million for joining us.
Yes.